Welcome to Leadership with Purpose. You know, we like to take deep dives into the stuff that really matters, and today's no different. We're going to tackle how to be a, well, kick-ass boss, but without turning into, the kind of person everyone avoids in the hallway. So we're really digging into radical candor. Have you heard of this?
Oh yeah, it's a framework from Kim Scott, and she's got some serious street cred. I mean, she was at Google, she was at Apple. She's seen it all when it comes to, what makes leadership tick.
Right. And that's why I think it's such a good deep dive for us today. It's about, like, how do you build those really solid relationships with your team? And obviously, at the end of the day, get better results, right? That's what everyone wants.
Right.
So how did this whole radical candor thing even come about? Where did it start?
So what's really cool about it is that it wasn't just like some theory cooked up in a vacuum.
Right.
Scott, she's been managing teams forever, and she started noticing these patterns. Like how people talk to each other, how it affected, like, did the team do well? Were they miserable? That whole vibe.
The whole vibe, yeah.
And the big takeaway, the core of it, is this balance.
Okay.
You got to care about the people you're working with, like really genuinely care.
Yeah.
But you also got to be able to, challenge them straight up when you need to.
So it's that sweet spot, right? Not too soft, not a drill sergeant.
Exactly.
No, I know there's this whole system of, like, 4 quadrants. How does that work?
Okay, yeah. So picture this, right? You get a square,
Okay.
and on one side, it's how much you care personally, like truly care about your team. The other side is how directly you challenge them. Feedback, expectations, all that.
Okay, I'm picturing it. So that makes 4 boxes,
The
right?
quadrants, yep.
Okay, so let's walk through them. Radical candor, I'm guessing that's like the gold standard, right?
That's the sweet spot.
So what's that look like day to day?
Okay, so you're in the radical candor zone when, first off, you genuinely care about the people you work with.
Okay.
Like, you see them as people, not just cogs in the machine, right?
Yeah.
But then here's the key. You're also willing to be really direct with them.
When it's tough, like about their work.
Exactly. When their work's not good enough, or if they're messing up, or even if there's just room to grow, you give them that feedback, and it's both kind and clear.
Kind and clear, okay.
And that builds trust like crazy. Because people see you're not just being mean, you actually want them to succeed.
They know you're coming from a good place.
Exactly. And it opens the door for these, like, really honest conversations, which are so valuable.
Makes sense. So what about when you flip that? Like, you're direct, maybe even harsh, but you don't really show you care?
That's the obnoxious aggression quadrant.
Obnoxious aggression.
So you're giving criticism, but it's blunt, maybe even mean, and there's no sense that you're actually invested in the person,
Yeah.
You might get results in the short term, just because people are scared.
Yeah, afraid to mess up.
But long term, forget about it.
Yeah.
You wreck relationships, trust goes out the window, and morale just tanks.
Like classic bad boss behavior, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, so then there's the opposite. You care a ton, but you're afraid to give any tough feedback.
Right. That's the ruinous empathy trap.
Ruinous empathy.
Yeah, you want to be liked. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
So you just avoid it.
Yeah, and that can feel good in the moment, but it's actually holding people back.
Because they need that feedback to grow.
Exactly. And if you don't address stuff, it just festers, It can turn into bigger problems later on.
So you think you're being nice, but actually you're not helping them in the long run?
Exactly.
Okay, and then the last one, manipulative insincerity. That doesn't sound promising.
No, that's like the worst of both worlds.
Really?
You don't care personally, and you're not being direct.
So, like, fake nice.
Yeah, feedback is sugar-coated or passive-aggressive, or maybe you just don't give any at all.
Not good.
It just kills trust. People can smell that insincerity a mile away.
Yeah, you can totally tell when someone's not being genuine.
Right.
Okay, so we want to be in radical candor land.
That's the goal.
But how, like, it sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it?
So good news is Scott gives us some really solid tools to work with.
Okay, good.
One of the biggest ones. Ask for feedback.
Oh, from your team.
Yep. You got to create a space where people feel safe telling you what you need to hear.
Even if it's, like, not super positive?
Especially then.
Okay.
Because it shows you're open to growing, and it sets the tone for the whole team.
It's like leading by example, right? Okay, what else?
Another biggie is giving feedback right away, informally. So instead of waiting for, like, those big formal reviews, you just have quick chats as things come up.
So, like, in the moment.
Exactly. Catch things early, course correct quickly. It just makes everything flow so much better.
Yeah, no one likes those, like, once-a-year performance reviews where it's like, bam, here's everything you did wrong.
Exactly. This is more like a constant dialogue.
Okay. What about, like, positive versus negative feedback? Does Candor, does it say anything about that?
Well, for sure.
Okay.
It's not just about pointing out what people need to fix.
Okay, good.
You got to celebrate the wins, too,
Right.
and be specific about it. Hey, you did this great thing, and here's why it was so awesome.
Ah, okay.
And same with criticism. Be clear, be direct, but give them something to work with.
Like, here's how to actually improve.
Exactly. Both sides, the praise and the criticism, they got to be meaningful.
Makes sense. Now, it's not just the boss giving feedback, right? There's peer-to-peer stuff too, isn't there?
Oh, huge. That's like a secret weapon.
Is it? Okay.
When team members can give each other feedback, it taps into all these different perspectives.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And it creates this shared responsibility for everyone's growth, which is so powerful.
Makes sense. But, I can imagine for a lot of people this whole thing is kind of scary, emotionally speaking.
Yeah, it's definitely not always easy.
Like, giving tough feedback, even receiving it, it can be tough.
For sure. And that's where emotional intelligence comes in, like big time.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
You got to understand your own emotions. You got to be able to read the room, sense how other people are feeling.
Makes sense.
It's all about delivering those tough messages with empathy.
Right. So it's not just like be a robot and spit out the truth.
No, it's not about being cold.
It's more nuanced than that.
Yeah, it's about being a human being
Right.
and caring about the other person while also being honest.
And I think that's where people get tripped up, right?
Right.
They think radical candor means just be brutal.
Yeah, but that's not it at all.
That's like the obnoxious aggression we talked about.
Exactly. Remember, caring is non-negotiable.
Right.
It's about finding that balance of kindness and clarity.
Okay. Now, doesn't Scott, she tells some stories in her book, right? From Google, Apple, all those places.
Oh, yeah, tons of them. And they really bring the whole thing to life.
Right, like real world examples.
Exactly. You see how these different quadrants play out. Times when candor made a huge difference and times when the lack of it really screwed things up.
Yeah, that makes it way more concrete.
For sure. Like there's one story from Google where someone gave some tough feedback on a presentation. It was awkward at first, but it actually saved the team from making a big mistake.
Oh, wow. Okay.
See, that's the power of it.
So what happens when a whole company really embraces this radical candor thing?
Ooh, that's when things get really interesting.
Okay, yeah.
So you start to see more trust, better communication. People actually feel like they can speak up.
Okay.
That leads to more innovation because people aren't afraid to throw out ideas.
Right.
And the whole company becomes more resilient because problems are addressed head on. Employees are happier, they stick around longer, and everyone just grows faster.
So it's good for the individual and good for the company.
Win-win.
Okay. So bottom line, radical candor is about this balance between caring and challenging.
That's it in a nutshell.
Be kind, be clear, and that's how you build that culture of trust and growth.
Exactly.
I like it.
And if you want to go even deeper, Kim Scott actually has a video online, like 6 minutes long, that lays out the whole framework.
Oh, perfect. Well, this has been fantastic. Seriously, thanks for breaking it all down for us.
My pleasure.
Now, for everyone listening, I want you to think about this for a second. Where do you fall on those 4 quadrants?
Yeah. Which one do you tend to gravitate towards?
And maybe even more importantly, what's one tiny step you could take this week to get a little closer to that radical candor sweet spot? And hey, if you found this deep dive helpful, please do us a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, we appreciate the support.
It really does help us keep making these deep dives, and we love doing them. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.